What's up guys, my name's Liam and today we're going to be taking a look at the brand new Sikakeyb HM80. These have been by far the most requested keyboards for me to review on my channel, as they're said to have some of the lowest latency that's out there on the market. So with that being said, obviously I was really excited to get my hands on it. I'm also curious to see how the software is going to be, how the feeling of it is going to be in general. So in this video, I'm going to do my best to try and answer all those questions for you, compare it to the competition, and hopefully I'll be able to help you decide whether or not this could be the perfect keyboard for you. So let's check it out. And before we get started today, I did want to let you know that this was sent out to me. However, everything you're going to be hearing in this video is going to be my own words and my own opinions. Included inside of the box, it does come with this documentation, a USB-C to a USB Type-A cable, some additional switches, stabilizers, and this really cool keycap and switch puller. Once you press it in there, you can eject it like that. This honestly has been working really great and it feels good. So taking a look at the board, this 80 layout's really awesome. I think my favorite layout there, I probably do prefer TKL. So 80 pretty much close enough for me and works out great. So really been loving the layout of this a lot. The one thing that I do want to say about just the general appearance and look of this, I'm not so much really into this tan or kind of old school retro style of a look. I would prefer more of like a modernized black look or something like that. But besides that, I would say that the overall feeling of this has been pretty good. It does have an all plastic case, and I prefer aluminum cases. So I've been talking with them. Hopefully I can get them to come out with a full aluminum case. But aside from that, it does have an LED bar over here. And one of the coolest things about this is it does have this screen up here in the top right hand side. I will show this to you and I'll go and demonstrate it in the software as well. You can upload custom images on here. So really cool feature and adds to the overall general aesthetic of the keyboard. But as for the rest of the build goes, it does have an on and off switch over here, and you do have the port for your USB-C cable over here on the left hand side, which is where I do personally enjoy for it to be. Over here on the back, they do have a little bit of a weight here, add some additional weight to the board itself, and then they do have rubberized feet down here, 3 on the bottom, the 2 up here at the top, and this part is rubberized as well, kind of more towards the middle. And as you can clearly see, these are flip out feet. Give you 2 additional settings with rubberized feet on the bottom. So overall, this has done a pretty good job at staying stable on my desk and not sliding around on me, though I do prefer more of a heavier set style case just in general. And then over here on the right side of the keyboard, this is just a piece of rubber in here, but it does look like this is a slot to where you can store a wireless receiver. So when it comes to the overall weight of the HM80, dropping it here on my scale, looks like it's sitting at approximately 946 grams. Here's a close-up look of the PBT die sub keycaps that are included. These do have a thickness of 1.8 millimeters, I believe. And the switches this does come included with are currently my favorite switches on the market, these Gateron Jade Pros. They are pretty lightweight. I believe they come in around 36 GF. And even though they do have this single rail design, they feel very stable, so you're not getting a whole lot of stem wobble there. Here's a close-up shot of the internals for the stabilizers. They are very clearly lubed. I'll go ahead and give you a close-up shot of what the PCB looks like underneath the switches themselves. This actually does have a top LED on it. But as you do notice here, there is no screws in here, and this thing was actually a real pain to take apart. So when you're doing it, there's no screws on the bottom or anything like that. As you can see looking inside of this plastic top piece, it does have all these little hinges right here. So the only way that you can open this up, I was actually trying to get at it from the side. There's no way you can get into it from the side, and it actually does look like I damaged this by snapping off the sides there by doing that. So that's kind of unfortunate, but you have to approach this. You have to dig in from the front and from the rear to snap this out and remove this, but I do that all at the cost for trying to give you guys all the information here that I can. So aside from that, it does look like this is gasket mounted. Lifting it up here, it does have these silicone gaskets where it sits in between the bottom and the top part of the case. So when looking at this from the rear, and it does have this screen up here, looks like it's actually held in there by a cord, so I'll try and be kind of easy with that. But looking at this over here from the rear, Here's a close-up look of the PCB. They are using 15 chips on this board to ensure precision and accuracy of the performance of it. So underneath these switches, you can clearly see you do have a aluminum switch plate, and in between the aluminum switch plate and the PCB itself, you do have a piece of Poron, and right below that, they do have an IXPE switch pad. So sitting underneath the PCB itself, they do include an additional piece of Poron foam here. That's what it looks like with the thickness on it there. And then below that, they do have an additional piece of silicone, and it is pretty standard where it has a thicker part up here at the top to go with the curvature of the case, and it gets more narrowed down at the bottom. And then they do have this additional piece of foam sitting up here inside of the silicone. All right, so taking a look at the software for the HM80, I do kind of wish that they would switch over to a web-based driver due to the fact that I've been getting issues where the software has been getting flagged by my antivirus software, and it keeps deleting it, so I keep having to re-download it. But aside from that, coming up over here at the top, if you click right here, this is where you can update your version on your keyboard and for the software itself. And just so you do know, when there is an update available, you'll be able to click a button right here. This allows you to switch between either light mode or dark mode. Sorry if that blinded you, that was pretty bright. This is where you can change your language, and then they do have some factory settings over here. So starting out for the first tab, for the function, I do feel like the software is kind of confusing. So over here you can set up multiple layers, but if we're on the function tab and you come over here and you just click any key, this is where it will allow you to make adjustments. But here's just a quick explanation here on what some of these are doing. As you can see, every time I do click these, it does remove my SOCD function from the key. So I have had some times where I was messing around with this SOCD and it got just a little confusing as I was using it. It like would stop working. Like for example, once I set this up and it looked fine on here, but when I was pressing to strafe right and then strafe left, I wouldn't strafe left at all. The A key wasn't working. So I did have to come in here and reset everything. And once I did that, it started working again. So perhaps that was just a glitch. But as you can see here, if I did click on this and you click on the D key, you can delete it that way. I don't really see there being like a delete button here or anything like that. So that's really the only way that I know to remove it would be to click this box and then click on it to set it, or click on it again to remove it. And then if you were to click on this one up here, this is where it kind of allows you to change the key around as well. So next up on the performance option, first off, you have to select what keys you want to make adjustments to. I'll go ahead and select all here. So for the settings on the keys right here, what I've been testing this out with is if you do put these as low as possible, as you can see, this does raise up the initial press. So it looks like the lowest allows you to go if you're going to have your rapid trigger as low as the 0.01 millimeters on the press and the release. The initial will go down to 0.09 millimeters. I just want to let you guys know that these are the settings that I tested the latency on. But with that being said, I really did find this to be pretty unusable in my gameplay. They do have presets down here, which I do appreciate. They have a normal, fast, and extreme. I've just been using the extreme, and using this extreme option, these have been working pretty well for me. I haven't necessarily messed around with fine tuning this anymore since I just kind of set this up, and even with these settings, this thing still feels incredibly responsive. It does stand out and it feels very fast. So again, I would just recommend starting out here. You can at that point then mess around with these, but I would just be careful with it. If you go too low, like if you go down to the 0.01, when I am just walking around, for example, if you barely move, even while you're still compressing the key, you'll just stop walking forward. So that was obviously a slight annoyance of mine. So having this up just a little bit, again, this is still going to feel just as fast. It's just not going to be as finicky as if you had it at the 0.01 setting. Next up over here on the light tab is where it allows you to make adjustments to your light settings. As you can see here, they do have a bunch of different presets, and they also have one to separately control the light bar over on the right side. If you want to change the picture, so how you do that is you just come up over here and you actually click on the picture itself. And to be honest with you, this was very easy to do. It does have some pre-selected pictures for you. If you wanted to upload your own image, it was very easy for me to do. Just make sure it's 16 by 9, which is what I generally do all my images in anyways. So all you need to do is come over here on the load image button, and then wherever you save the image to, if it's in your desktop or whatever, you select it. After you select it, it'll pop up right here and you just hit download image, and it literally happens almost instantaneously. It took like 1 or 2 seconds to transfer the image over. And then last but not least, you do have the calibration here. I always recommend calibrating your keyboard when you first get it, especially even if you do a firmware update. Every time I do a firmware update, I do recalibrate my keyboards to ensure that they're working perfectly. When it comes to performance, I did throw this on my solenoid rig versus the Wooting 60HE, and a really quick disclaimer that I put out in all of these videos is the results of these tests can vary due to a bunch of different factors like end-to-end system latency. This was one of the hardest keyboards that I've ever tested due to the fact that it's so sensitive. It really blew me away. I don't think a keyboard has ever tested this well against the 60HE. As a matter of fact, it got to the point where I didn't even think the 60HE was going to even come out ahead at all. But testing the press and release on the Wooting 60HE 10 times and the HM80 10 times, the HM80 won on the press 9 out of 10 times, and it won on the release 8 out of 10 times. So even though, like I say, yeah, the results on this testing can be somewhat inconsistent, I've never had a keyboard beat the Wooting 60HE as consistently as this one has. All right, guys, so that about wraps things up on the Sikakeyb HM80. And truly, the design and performance of this is really on a whole nother level, and it clearly does show just in the feeling and the performance of this. I really do love using this a lot. The fact that it comes with my favorite switches out there, the magnetic Jade Pros, all around, this thing is just an absolute force to be reckoned with. With that being said, like I'd mentioned, there's some things that I do wish I can change about it. I don't really like the all plastic case in it, just a personal preference. I wish I can get a different aesthetic to it, and it did come with some shine through keycaps. This, the Wooting 80HE, the IQNX EZ63, and the new Pulsar TKL board are all coming across as some of the fastest keyboards that I've ever tested. Right now for my testing, I'm just using a base for the Wooting 60HE since it is the most common keyboard out there. I do plan on testing some of these fast keyboards against one another in the future, and again, I am working on trying to get a little bit more of an accurate readout for a rig there to test the latency. So though this isn't the perfect keyboard for me, it's really almost there. They just need to make a couple of slight tweaks and changes here, but I'm absolutely going to put this as one of my favorite keyboards that I've ever tested to date that's out there. Just the feeling of this, it really is that great. So if you have any additional questions or feel like I left anything out, please let me know in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed watching this video and are interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, please drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel. And thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing you in the next one.